Last week, we went deep with our results from the GOAT card show and our buying plan as we go to a show. This week, I want to go the opposite direction. This is the short version. If you sell cards, there are basically 3 decisions that make a big difference in how your business runs. If you get these 3 right, you save time, protect margin, and make the whole thing easier to manage. This is the point of this episode. 3 decisions, easy to remember and easy to use. First, is this card a single, a lot, or a liquidation piece? Second, am I pricing this for margin or for movement? And third, is this actually worth the handling time? That's the framework. Now let's get into it. Welcome to my so-called card life, the podcast where we talk about what actually happens when you try to run a real card business, the decisions, adjustments, and lessons that don't show up in highlight reels. Welcome to my so-called card life, an inside look at the life of a low-end card reseller, brought to you by JC3 Cards and Collectibles, a premier reseller of trading cards available today on eBay, Collects, and whatnot. Whether you're looking to fill out that new set or just rekindle memories with one of your favorite players from your favorite teams, let JC3 Cards and Collectibles help you find that card you're looking for and provide fast, secure delivery straight to your door. The first decision you have to make is not actually price. That first decision is not whether you even like the card, because that first decision is actually this. What lane does this card belong in? For me, every card should go into one of 3 buckets. It's either a single, part of a small curated lot, or something that needs to be liquidated and moved out. That sorting decision matters more than a lot of sellers realize. If you put a card in the wrong lane, you create work that never should have existed in the first place. If a card has enough demand, enough value, and enough reason to stand on its own, then list that card as a single. But not every card deserves that treatment. Some cards make more sense grouped together. Maybe it's a player lot, or a team lot, or some type of themed insert lot. Maybe even a stack of cards that are not strong enough on their own, but become sellable when grouped together. That's where curated lots make more sense. And then there's the third bucket, and that's liquidation. There is some inventory that is just not worth the effort. Weak demand, low value, just too much drag. If you keep trying to force those cards into the singles process, all you're doing is slowing yourself down. Now, that doesn't mean the card has no value. It means it doesn't have enough value for the process you're trying to use. So when I look at inventory, I'm not asking, can I list this? I'm actually asking, what is the right lane for this? Here's a quick example. One card with proven demand and solid comps is a single. A stack of similar inserts or stars might be a curated lot. Random filler cards with weak demand goes right into the liquidation lane. So that's decision number 1. Single, lot, or liquidate. Once you know the lane, now you can decide what job the card is supposed to do. And that brings us to decision number 2. Am I pricing this for margin or for movement? And this is where a lot of sellers get a little sloppy. They treat all inventory the same. Everything gets one generic pricing mindset and one generic expectation. And that simply doesn't work well. Some inventory should protect margin. Some inventory should simply create movement. And those are two very different jobs. If I have a card with enough demand and pricing power, I don't need to treat it like a discount buy it now item. That card can sit in the margin lane and do its job. On the other hand, some inventory is not there to be a hero all by itself. Some inventory simply exists to create multi-item orders. It helps build carts, and it supports a volume strategy. And that's all about movement. But movement is not exactly the same thing as panic pricing. And cheap is not the same thing as strategy. That's where people get themselves in a little bit of trouble. They think velocity means a race to the bottom, and it simply does not. If the pricing does not still make sense financially and operationally, then it's not good movement. It's just bad discipline. So the real question is, what job is this item supposed to do here? Is it here to protect a margin? Or is it here to create more movement? A stronger single with proven demand might belong in the margin lane, while a lower end card with enough buyer appeal to help trigger multi-card orders may belong in the movement lane. The mistake is when sellers price margin cards like movement cards or expect weak movement inventory to behave like premium singles. You don't need every card to do the same job. You need every card to do the right job. And that's decision number 2, margin or movement. Now we get to the third decision. And this is probably the one that separates people who stay sane from the people who burn themselves out. Decision number 3 is this. Is this actually worth the handling time? Because revenue is not automatically good revenue. A sale is not automatically a good sale. Some sales make money. Some sales just keep you busy. You can spend time sorting, listing, answering offers, pulling inventory, packing orders, shipping orders, and dealing with follow-up issues on items that just don't return enough for the effort. And if you're not careful, you can trick yourself into thinking that activity means progress. Sometimes it does. But sometimes it's just noise. Handling time matters. Shipping friction matters. Offer fatigue matters. Long tail inventory clutter matters. And most of all, your energy matters. That's why I try to look beyond just gross sale price and ask a more important question. How annoying is this item going to be relative to what it pays me back? Because some inventory looks just fine until you account for the total labor around it. And once you do that, it stops looking nearly as attractive. This is especially important for sellers trying to scale while also protecting their time. If you build your store around inventory that constantly demands attention for very little reward, you're not building a business. You're essentially building a treadmill. So yes, that card might sell. Yes, the revenue might count. But ultimately, is it worth the handling time on it? Compare a clean, straightforward item that sells with solid margin and minimal friction against a low dollar, fussy item that takes too much time and invites too much negotiation and ultimately creates more work than it should. Those are not equal sales. One supports the business, the other drains it. It becomes an energy vampire. Bad revenue still costs energy. And that's decision number 3. Is it worth the handling time? All right, so if last week's episode was a little too long for you with our jumbo mega box, super box edition, then this was probably the TLDR, too long didn't read, right size episode for you. 3 decisions: single, lot, or liquidate, margin or movement, and worth the handling time or not. That's the framework. Most sellers don't need a more complicated system. They need a simple system they will actually use. If you can get faster and better at these 3 decisions, your business gets easier to run. You waste less time, you protect more margin, and you stop forcing inventory into roles it was never supposed to have. Selling cards is not just about finding the right cards. A lot of the time, it's about making cleaner decisions once the cards are already in front of you. So that's this week's episode. 3 decisions, keep it simple, use the framework. And the question I would leave you with is this: which one gives you the most trouble? Is it deciding what should be a single and what should go in a lot? Is it pricing for margin versus movement? Or is it letting go of inventory that's just not worth the handling time? Because that's where I would start. Thanks for joining us this week, everybody. I hope you have a good week, and we'll talk to you again on the next episode of My So-Called Card Life.